So the parts of a webinar is this. Now, I'm just going to run them through all of these because this is the all the different parts of a webinar. This is it. There's no difference. There's nothing else. Yeah, there's pieces within this, but these are the basic parts of a webinar. It's an intro. The what are you going to talk about? The training that you're going to do, the offer, and then ultimately the close, which is the deal that you're going to make at the end, if you will, how you say it and what you do in order to entice people to make that happen. So the different parts of this webinar, this is what you've got to focus in on. It's not a lot, but it's very important that you have it structured in this way. You see, sales itself is a psychological process. A lot of people always ask me, what sales books do you read? I don't read sales books. And what I read is psychology books. Why? Because I want to know how people think. I want to know how people act. I want to know how people react. And I want to know what they do in certain circumstances. And that gives me more information. It's a psychological process. And this is a psychological process in order to get people to sell. So again, we're going to go over each part of this. But let's start off with the intro itself. So the intro is what Mike talked about it a little bit. The intro that Mike introduced me, and that's technically an intro. But also in many of my presentations, I have a whole segment that usually takes, depending on how much time I have, 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes, telling you a little bit about me. Things like I've been online since 1996. Again, that's 24 years now. Crazy. But then I tell you about the different companies I've had, the fact I've done, I don't know, a couple $100 million in online sales at this particular point. Things like that, I've had dinner at Buckingham Palace. I show you the invitation that I had. I show you maybe me speaking on stages. I show you maybe sometimes even a picture or two of my house. And I show you those things to show you what I've done and to show you that I know what I'm talking about. It's building some sort of credibility. Not always. Today, as an example, I didn't do that. I have a shorter time frame to talk with everyone today. So I wanted to get rid of that and just let the presentation kind of sit on its own. And that's what I did. Just a very simple start. Let's get started and go from there. Okay. So the intro is where you talk about yourself. And the second piece is the what. Now, if you notice, my presentation this is what we're going to cover today. Okay. And I gave you an outline of, I believe it was 8 or 9 things of the things that we're going to cover today. And it was just like an outline. It's like a table of contents. And so I got right straight to the point. Now, if this was as an example, a webinar that I was doing online, I would have told you the different things I'm going to cover in the video prior to you registering. And so that's going to give you a reason. Either A, you want to know what I'm talking about, and that's going to give you a reason to opt in to this, right? That makes sense. And I'm going to entice you that during the webinar, I'm going to talk about these things. And so then when you got onto the webinar, I run over that list again. And now you're ready to actually, well, hopefully listen to those things, which brings us to the next piece, which is the training. You see, the training is why they're there. You made a promise. If you give me your name and email address, then I will teach you this. That's the promise. So the only reason that they're there is for the training. That's it, the training. So you have to understand that part. And what most people think, for some crazy reason, well, these people are here to hear my my pitch. No, they're not. No one woke up this morning saying, you know what? I think I want to get pitched on how to do a webinar today. No one ever said that. No one ever woke up this morning. If you did, call me. But other than that, I'm telling you, no one did. And no one will ever. So the reason why they're there is because they want to know how to do a webinar. So they're there because of the training. So the reason why they buy, you ready for this? The reason they will buy from you is because your training was so good that they want more. So the training is not just something that you stumble through. The training is what you do to get them to buy. A lot of people think that, well, it's the offer, it's the pitch, it's the close, it's the fancy words that you say. No, it's not. Absolutely not in any way. I can take anyone, and just teach you how to train And at the end, I guarantee that you will outsell the majority of people at any event, any webinar, anywhere in the world. Why? Because that is why people buy. Does that make sense? So again, the training is why they buy.